Ladies and gentlemen, this is Scott Pollock, Chief Editor of the Critical Post Chicago, reporting. Welcome to another edition of the Critical Post Chicago Report. Thanks again for tuning into the Critical Post Chicago, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate it. I'm going to be doing a number of camera edits and showing you some slides during this particular report. Once again, we are being bid by lots of people. We have been contacted to report the fraud activity going on the internet in a particular Facebook group. This particular report is not for the general market of subscribers now finding their way to the Critical Post Chicago broadcast YouTube submissions. It's specifically for the benefit of those folks who have in the past monitored the activities of Neil Keenan and his fake news group called Cosmic Voice on Facebook, operated by one Mr. Thomas Williams and his sidekick, Mr. Drake Bailey, whom portray themselves as progenitors of insider information which is beneficial to the entire world in being released from the debt-based monetary system. They use words like cabal, Illuminati, NWO, or New World Order in order to enrapture people with their message, much like the fear pornography king himself, Alex Jones. Ladies and gentlemen, over the past few months, dozens upon dozens of individuals have contacted our organization once again to expose these narcissists who prey upon the ignorant through various forms to gain donation money from folks for lots of illegitimate reasons. A newer addition to this list of scam artists that has come to our attention through these folks is one Mr. Jerzey Babkowski, operating something on the web with a very official-looking website called Landa China Global Trust. Very briefly, ladies and gentlemen, if you know people paying attention to these frauds for whatever reason, tell them to ignore any requests for money in GoFundMe campaigns or other funding platforms or donations. Donations are a common way to solicit funds without any recourse in a course of law, especially if those donations are going overseas. So again, do not participate in anything of this nature unless you don't care about your money. Another curious question regarding these donations would be, if these men were operating to end the world's subjugation to cabal monetary systems, why would they operate with asking for Federal Reserve notes? Isn't that their cabal? It's just a question, folks. Let me remind folks about Mr. Keenan and Cosmic Voice on Facebook. We know to keep their group member numbers up, they include strangers' profiles within Facebook's interface unknown to the people they include in the group in an unwitting manner. This is their common practice. People who've never heard of them before somehow find themselves included and find themselves later stunned to have been included in the first place. So be aware of that activity, ladies and gentlemen. That's the way the groups on Facebook work. You can just start perusing profiles and including people in a group without their knowing. The secret group, Cosmic Voice. They keep it secret so that nobody can see what is being asked of the people in Cosmic Voice. They don't want anybody to know. What they don't know is that there's 1.5 million, which is an exaggeration, lots of moles that continually contact the critical post because they know we're watching them or have watched them in the past. And over the past year, since we exposed Mr. Keenan, they keep on sending us emails. Look what they're doing. Kind of comical, really. But I want you to take a look at something, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to show you something. I want you to see this receipt for $71,000. There it is. That went to Mr. Keenan's wife in Bulgaria on the 9th of October, 2012. You see that? In one deposit, $71,000. Take a look at that, right? This was part of a fraud perpetrated upon an unsuspecting widow, one Ms. Jean Haynes, whom through her own arrogance thought she was the inside right-hand partner of Mr. Keenan, and that she was going to be repaid a loan of more than $330,000 of her personal funds to this piece of garbage, and that in the process she was going to get her own retreat provided to her by Mr. Keenan on some island somewhere after certain trading programs were put in place. Later, we heard Mr. Keenan was telling folks he was a newly anointed insider in the cartels of China and the Far East. During our investigation of Mr. Keenan, he reported to his followers through a YouTube video the discovery of a vast treasure trove of gold in Indonesia guarded by quote-unquote elders of the Sukarno gold cache buried underground in bunkers, aided by the other men, Bailey and Williams and their Cosmic Voice Facebook group. In the meantime, while also making a mockery of Miss Haynes, after having not refunded Miss Haynes after discovery of the purported gold cache, nothing of note claimed by these men has come about for any of the reasons that they state. To remind people of this nefarious gambit, the Sukarno Gold Trust gambit has been used by the CIA in cahoots with an army of fraudsters since around 1985, otherwise known, these fraudsters, as master traders, dozens of times since it started appearing. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, it is an information weapon of semantical operations and employed for multi-objective reasons whenever there's a need by America's intelligence community. It's used to defraud people of high net worth from untold hundreds of millions worldwide yearly, and by no means is it the only gambit currently being employed. In the case of Mr. Keenan, it was used to ensnare and put in jail a man by the name of Alessandro Santi, who ran a bar in the Philippines where fraudsters of all kinds hung out and were being sought by the CIA. When Santi denied them access with bugging equipment, he was snared and put in jail for non-cooperation with the CIA. All of this confirmed by Paul Collin during his investigation of the Chiasso, Italy bond incident advertised by Keenan and the other idiot, David Wilcock, who helped put the operation into the field using the Captain Kangaroo of talk radio, George Norrie's coast-to-coast broadcast platform, syndicated by Premier Networks. I want you to take a look at Mr. Bailey again, ladies and gentlemen. Well, let me bring up a wonderful picture of Mr. Bailey. There he is, picking his nose on camera. There's your intrepid warrior, Mr. Drake Bailey. He's up here in this corner right here. You see him picking his nose? One of the grossest individuals I have yet to encounter on the web. Then folks start telling us about this Jerzey Babkowski character. We put Paul Collin into the field to snip Mr. Babkowski out, and Mr. Collin confirms that Landa China Global Trust is a front for Babkowski's illicit donation solicitations. Moreover, another of our people has told us through a source known by this person and the IMF that in fact what Mr. Babkowski does is graft onto his fraud the appearance of legitimate humanitarian projects being used by other legitimate operations as his own for the purposes of soliciting donations. Several folks have emailed the Critical Post, citing they were promised things in return for their donations, only to be told, just like in the case of Mr. Keenan and friends, it'll be just another week before the funds will be coming available for all to enjoy. Not to be outdone in the donation scamming of folks through Facebook and other places on the internet, now comes Thomas Williams, who is claiming to be starting his own foundation for humanitarian projects. Ladies and gentlemen, if you go to the Treasury.gov website, there are several articles warning people about how frauds use humanitarian projects as fronts for their fraud operations and to not participate in any manner with anyone claiming to be doing something in the name of humanity. It is explicitly warned, ladies and gentlemen, don't do it. Here's a couple of screenshots taken by folks who are watching this group, Cosmic Voice in silent disapproval. Let me show you these. More will follow about the foundation, Thomas Williams said. Initially, it will be requested a donation to help me with startup costs. After that, we will be receiving larger donations that will provide jobs, supports, new projects, and new products, which will be funded via the foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, if somebody's going to set up a foundation and they're going to operate that foundation, they're going to use their own money first. Don't do it. The man's an idiot. And anybody who follows these people, unless they're just entertaining themselves, are ignorant. And it's time that they wise up. But they will continue. They had the help of Pete Santilli for a while, who made himself an idiot at the thing in Oregon recently. Got himself arrested. Made a fool of himself. Mr. Santilli saying on camera, "It's such an honor to meet Mr. Keenan." Ridiculous. This broadcast submission is once again to warn people of these preposterous and nefarious exercises to defraud ignorant but innocent people of their cash by way of donation solicitations, which are very hard to prosecute, especially if these donations go overseas. Do not, under any circumstance, give these folks one dime of your money or an ounce of your consideration or time. As for Mr. Keenan. So, Keenan, we hear you're one of the big kahunas now, huh? Is that right? How about paying Miss Haynes back the money you stole from her using false pretenses, huh? Let's start with that $71,000. Tack on 10% interest, 6.5% simple interest, 3.5% for nuisance. 78 G's. You know where she lives. You've got her phone number. She hasn't changed anything. She didn't deserve to have that money stolen under false pretenses. Why don't you pay her back? You're such a big shot. Huh? No. Anytime you come to the States, Keenan, anytime you want to come on the record, Keenan, all you have to do is let me know at 312-544-0134. I've got lots of questions for you. And ladies and gentlemen, as for Mr. Babkowski, Thomas Williams, Drake Bailey, Pete Santilli, and all the rest of the idiots out there, don't pay attention to them. Unless, of course, all you want to do is entertain yourself with fools. Again, this is Scott Pollock, Chief Editor of the Critical Post Chicago, reporting. Thanks again for watching another Critical Post Chicago report. We're sorry to have interrupted our regularly scheduled broadcast submissions with this small missive about Mr. Babkowski, Keenan, Drake Bailey, David Wilcock, Thomas Williams, Pete Santilli, and all the rest of them. But we were asked to do it by a lot of people, and so we want to warn the people again, don't pay attention to these people. We'll be back shortly. We've got a lot of material to present. We've sifted through a lot of information, and there's going to be a lot of stuff coming down the tube very shortly. Again, this is Scott Pollock, Chief Editor of the Critical Post Chicago, reporting. That is all.